Welcome to Haken, an Animal Crossing podcast, your podcast dedicated to all things Animal Crossing. Episode 180 is brought to you by Andrew, Jeffrey, Thomas Ray, Olivia T, and Cal, some of our newest Patreon patrons. This week, Sergio and I are going to discuss the latest update announced for New Horizons and the mysterious house that has appeared in said announcement. So to begin, hello Sergio, how are you doing?
Hi Chuy, I'm doing rather well. It's nice to have timely announcements and news to talk about, and they're kind of meaty. This is more than I expected, so it's exciting to talk about it later.
I'm actually surprised at your answer there because I feel like online it's not going over well.
Really?
I think. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think this is the update that's bringing people back is all I'm thinking from this one. But yeah, I mean, this is a real surprise. We never get news on recording day.
Yeah.
So, it's nice to actually be able to talk about it right away and make sure, see what people are feeling and make sure everybody's having a good time with it. So I guess we'll start right there, just talking about the update and what's to be expected,
Right.
So this update is going live on April 28th, 2021. I'm assuming this is Japan time because most of these updates have the dates set as Japan time. So April 28th, while that's Wednesday for us, it'll be Tuesday for us if they're going by Japan,
Yes.
So
right.
I expect this to happen tomorrow night, evening. I forget what the time would be now at this point. It's 6 or 7. I don't know. It changes mostly because Japan does not do time changes, so it makes it all mixed up in my head. And I've been really bad at time changes lately. Anyways, this update, they essentially covered 4 things that are coming to the game. The first is May Day, the return of May Day, which also means the return of our good friend Rover.
Yes.
This one is taking place April 29th through May 7th, and it almost feels wrong to play it on the 29th, That's not May Day at all. That's still April Fools, It's still prom season in Animal Crossing at that point, so kind of strange. But it seems like it's going to be a lot like the old one. There is a single-use ticket that you can get over at Dodo Airlines and fly off to a maze. The maze is a new design. It is different from the one previously, and that is nice. We will get a brand new puzzle to solve. Something you really liked the last maze, right, Sergio?
Yes, and I was hoping to get a new one, so this is awesome.
Yeah, I feel like they couldn't have gotten away with doing the same one. I think a lot of people would have been like, come on, Nintendo. A year and you gave us the same thing. We don't quite know what the grand prize is going to be once you finally reach the end and meet Rover. It could be that same suitcase, the Rover suitcase that we got in the past. It could be something new. I'm going to go ahead and assume it's the same Rover suitcase. At least I'm kind of hoping it is because I do want more of them. And if it's still a single-use ticket and we're only getting one item, I guess I kind of want what I already know in this situation. Luckily, this year, I do have a bunch of extra characters on my island, so I do plan on doing it multiple times.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I'm kind of hoping if that's the case, and I do it multiple times, I'd rather have a new item from Rover.
Right.
Because then maybe the ones who are playing it for the first time ever are going to be able to get the suitcase, and because they didn't play year 1, and everybody who's going to do it again is going to get the new item. But once again, we don't know. Maybe a Rover suitcase, maybe a new reward, but definitely a new maze, which should be a lot of fun to do.
Yes.
The next update is going to be International Museum Day, yet another returning holiday, and this one is going to take place between May 18th and May 31st. Just like the last museum day, we will have a stamp rally where we visit exhibits and get stamps for all the exhibits that we visit. It will probably be, once again, the same rewards, but in this case, this time last year, we did not have the art exhibit in the museum, so that would be a brand new plaque for us to collect. And it's definitely one I'm going to be getting some of because you got to have the whole set, you know?
Yeah.
So Sergio, I mean, I feel like this one was probably the weaker one of the events. How are you feeling about it going into it this year?
Going into it this year, I'm actually excited for it because I'm one of those people that doesn't really go into their museum. So it's been about a year. I guess the last time I was there was for the original stamp rally. And there's been a lot of additions, a lot of new members in the museum that I've been able to catch. So I'm looking forward to actually seeing all the changes and seeing if they change the stamp locations and hopefully if they add the ones for the art gallery. So I'm actually excited for this one.
Yeah, yeah, and I've been feeling kind of the same way as well. I think I've completed a couple museum exhibits and haven't gone in to look at everything there.
Mhm.
So there are going to be some new displays for me to enjoy as well. And I wanted to ask you too. I know, you weren't looking up the bugs and fish and sea creatures that we could catch throughout the year. Have you been able to complete any of those exhibits, or is that going to be kind of the project for you this year?
No, that's a project for this year. Yeah, I haven't been able to.
hmm Yeah, well, I'm excited. I'm really glad that you have that to work toward in year two so
Right.
far.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm assuming the one you have done is fossils.
Yes, yes, that one I did. Mhm.
Cool, cool. Yeah, it's always the first one. It's the
Yeah.
easiest one. It's it's good money though to dig up those fossils.
Yeah.
So the next event that we're going to be getting, another returning event. This is the wedding season. It will go throughout the month of June, June 1st to June 30th, the entire time. You can head on over to Harv's Island, and there you will be able to take wedding photos once again with Reese and Cyrus. I guess the canon story for this is that they got married in June, and every single year they take the whole month to remember that and take a ton of photos. I don't know whose idea it is, but I think it's Reese's idea. I feel like this is for her. um, Anyways, you will be able to decorate Harv's place into a nice little wedding venue photo shoot for them. It looks like there are going to be some new rewards associated with this right away. I know I can't, it's the podcast and listeners can't really see this, slash, I don't put these images up in the podcast, but there is, from what I can tell, a new wall for this.
Oh,
So
nice.
there is some new stuff that appears to be showing up there. It will probably work a lot like the last one, where over time it kind of unlocks new styles that they're going for, new items that you can get. So it's kind of worth checking into it multiple times, especially if you're like me and you want more organs. The organ items are delightful. And I don't mean like body part organs. I mean like an organ that has keys like a piano, you know?
Yeah.
So that item on its own it's just worth it. It's worth doing the event for that.
Mm.
Make a creepy room for Halloween, an organ room,
Oh.
maybe. And maybe put some bodies in there, some skeletons, so, you know, some people organs. Anyways, we are going to have some additional things associated with wedding season as well that aren't at Harv's Island this time around. There are going to be new items sold in the Nook Shopping app, so brand new things. A lot of people are already, from what I've seen, excited for a new basket item that they're hoping that they can hold and throw flower petals. So
Ooh, that'd be
that
nice.
yeah, that could be a really interesting item. It shows up in the Japanese image of Nook's Shopping. So if you want to check it out there, I actually had Tab try to translate it for me earlier. I think Tab's in here right now. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was like flower shower or something. So we're assuming it's going to be like petals in a basket that you can
Right.
throw, as if you're like the flower girl, you know? Um, Outside of that, we are going to have some new clothing items available at Able Sisters. Not too clear on what those will be, outside of there was a sentence there that said that. So expect some wedding season stuff to appear. Once again, not everybody's favorite. What's the word I'm looking for? Favorite theme?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we could benefit from some different themes, but you know, it makes sense to have it again. Anybody who's picked up the game and hasn't gotten to get those items, you get a chance now. And if you missed some the first year, there's one specifically that's worth getting a little bit more. I think it's the flower stand or so. It's needed to make the wedding wand recipe. And I got very lucky that I had one in my closet because I was trying to craft every single item in the game. And I was panicking for a second because I was like, do I have the materials to make this wand? Because if I don't, wedding season better be the exact same as last year. So if anybody felt that type of panic, it's worth to go back and everything. The final thing mentioned in this update, which now that I'm going through it, it is pretty bulky, Sergio. It's got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of repeat stuff, but some new sprinkled in there, you know? So the last one is new seasonal items are going to be available. The ones I saw listed throughout the different press releases were for Children's Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day, cheese rolling, which apparently people in the UK, I believe, roll a big thing, a wheel of cheese down a hill and people chase it. That's a thing. I need to see. I'm gonna look it up on YouTube later. I need to see it. And more. That's what they said. And more. Nice. So we can expect a lot of seasonal items. I am very excited about these. The Children's Day items are really cool because they are ones that we have had in previous Animal Crossing games, but updated for, you know, those HD visuals and everything. There is the little newspaper hat, you know, if you've ever made a little I usually use them as boats, and you know, on a nice rainy day like I'm having today, I would go down to the drains and let my boat go, you know. So there's that. You can wear it on your head. It's a cute item. I love it. And then there's the fish flag. The fish pole flag. I don't know. It's a flag pole with fishes. This one is actually an item that appeared in the original Animal Crossing. So really cool to see that we'll get it. It looks huge. I'm really excited to see how it blows in the wind now that we have a game with wind. So yeah, some pretty neat seasonal things on the way. I'm excited to see it. But I guess let's get into the questions here, Sergio. What do you think of this new update?
Oh, I think it's very nice. More than I expected. I'm excited for the things that are coming. You brought a good point that, you know, they couldn't really change it too much for the people that missed it the first time around, but they took care and attention into adding a little something for everybody that did. And some of these events, I'm thinking specifically the wedding season one, these took a lot of dedication the first time around. We had to visit the event, I want to say around 20 times or so, 20 of those 30 days. So Well, some people actually ended up missing some of those. So now they have the chance to get what they missed, maybe get some duplicates of their favorite items, and then get the new ones. And, it's probably not going to take them another 20 days. So I think it's a good approach.
Yeah, yeah, you make a totally good point. That event is a lot more demanding than I think people wanted it to be.
Yeah.
So, kind of late in the event, people were realizing, oh, I might not have done this enough in order to get every single item,
Right.
And for those completionists trying to catalog everything, it's difficult to live with yourself after that. That's when those time traveling habits start to kick in. um, but there's always next year. If you followed that motto, time-told motto of Sergio and Chuy, you can get them all again. And I think the most unfortunate thing is that it's not an incredibly engaging set of items. There are some nice
Yeah.
treasures here and there, but I can see if you don't really want these items, you're probably not going to want to do this event. By the end of it, I was speed running it all the way through. It's basically like put as many items that they request as possible, and you're good to go. It's about as easy as Happy Home Designer.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. It's not demanding whatsoever. You can speed run it as fast as that plane will fly you over to Harv's. Yeah. As far as for me, I think this update feels familiar. I guess we just got to get used to revisiting a lot of things. It seems a little bit strange to me at this point that if the game was going to be at I guess how do I say that? If the updates were going to be as similar as they are currently, I'm kind of surprised that they're not just being left in the game code at this point. I think why remove it when June is over and instead just leave it in there. Leave that stuff in there. You don't have to schedule an update that says, all right, all this stuff is available again, and now people who have played through the year and have done everything, they can just time travel through and experience all this stuff again.
Right.
So I think that's the weirdest thing with this update to me. It's just I think it's time that we just leave this in the code. Stop taking it out. But I mean, revisiting definitely is the name of the game here, and once again, it's just going to benefit people who haven't played these events yet / kind of missed stuff on their first go around.
Right.
So what are you hoping to see with this update?
Well, originally I was hoping to see at least little changes instead of just absolutely repeats from the first time, which again would be nice, but like you said, at least change a little something. And I think that's what we're seeing based on this update. It's a good reason to redo the events if you needed to, if you missed something or if you want duplicates, but you also have the new items. I mean, you can look them up and see if they're enticing to you. And if they are, then you have more motivation to redo some of the events. So honestly, I think it's a win-win. You get people to redo the events if they needed to, and you also get people to do them again if they want some of the new items. So I think it's the best approach.
Yeah. And it seems like, that would be basically what's happening on any other Animal Crossing game if you were playing the same way,
Yeah.
We would reach this day again and it would happen again. And of course, in the old ones, it was all the same stuff you already saw. But this one, we do get that bonus little treat of, oh, there's something a little bit new here. So just, every item they add gives us another little special thing to use in our islands. And I feel like every single set does keep delivering something that players really attach to and make use of on their islands. So
yes,
it's good to see that for sure. I think for me, I guess I'm at that point where I'm hoping for something pretty big. I feel like I've experienced these things. I played them quite thoroughly the first time around. So for me, it's like I want something to be huge for the game, something that
Mm.
kind of not so much rewrites things a bunch, but goes a little bit further than just a few new items. I'm ready for that big furniture and DIY update, you know.
Right.
Um we got I feel like every event should introduce DIYs at this point. I want to
True.
see new things. The wedding items, it's kind of funny how we earn them. It's like definitely a different type of gameplay and everything. But at the same time, like once it's gone, that's it. Like you don't really have any way to get back to them. And that's how I'm kind of thinking of like the festival stuff, where it was all pretty much bought through the shop or earned through Pave when you did the event and everything.
Hmm.
So this time, I would really like to revisit events, but maybe be awarded or rewarded. I forget which word you should use there, but just get some DIYs for recipes of even if it's just the stuff that we've already gotten, just so it's a little bit more accessible throughout the year. But also, it'd be cool to just get new DIYs of stuff we haven't gotten, you know?
Yeah.
So. So yeah, I think that for me would change things a lot more. As somebody who is basically waiting to get one more DIY to complete every single recipe in the game, and
Nice.
that's the golden shovel that Gulliver is withholding from
Yeah.
me. He just doesn't like me. That's what I've decided. Um, so yeah, I mean, I need something big. I'm still kind of hoping, but I guess here's my next question for you: is this what you kind of expected for year two of New Horizons?
For a little while, yeah, this has been it because I haven't really seen hints or I guess yeah, hints from Nintendo that they're planning something bigger. If anything, it was gonna be during the first anniversary. When that didn't happen, I thought, well, they did promise at least 2 or 3 years of updates. Well, it's probably gonna be very small things, and they
Hmm.
are. So yeah, we're getting new content at least. I think it's fine. It's a good approach. Slight changes, but I think they are slight enough to keep people interested and to do some of the events another time. Sometimes it might be a new item, but it's so like minuscule or not too interesting that you might not even want to do the event. But I feel like this so far, based on what we have seen, these are good
Hmm.
enough. People are gonna redo some of the events at least a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely some reasons to revisit for sure. I think the May Day will probably get the most play here of them all,
Yes.
just because it is a very interesting thing to just do a maze. You know, it's a very different style of gameplay that we don't get outside of like Crunchy Island doing their maze races and everything. There are a lot of people who make really cool mazes. Um, but yeah, no, I get that for sure. I think for me, I thought they'd go a little bit more all out with these for a while. I was kind of expecting the developers to recognize that the stuff they put into the game was definitely good enough to cover the span of a year. You know, for me,
Right.
I think the first year was very strong. I thought it was a very strong year of Animal Crossing where I felt like I was continuously finding new things that I wanted to get, just playing in real time and everything. But now that I've reached that point of like, I'm pretty close to completing the DIYs. I mean, I could always complete the clothing and furniture catalogs and everything, but overall, I'm just like, I thought they'd recognize that maybe we need that big furniture clothing update, but I'm kind of getting the impression that maybe they've already seen success with the game, the success that they've already wanted to see.
Right. Hmm.
And that kind of is making me feel like maybe they are like, we've got some small things planned for the next couple years that should be good. The big ideas that we have are going into the next game, and you all have to wait until then. And in some ways, I'm just like, that's a little bit of a bummer. Can't the next game be like now? Can't you just update this one with that stuff? But in others, I'm like, I mean, if it means the next game is coming sooner, I'm okay with
Right,
that.
exactly.
Yeah, so I think they can make the next game even better if they build off of what they've already done with New Horizons. Because as much as people say that like New Horizons is lacking content and everything, the ideas it brought to Animal Crossing are kind of huge ideas. Like terraforming on its own
Yes.
is a really big change to the series. Moving buildings, moving villagers, having so much freedom about where to place items and everything. A lot of that was, I wouldn't say non-existent, but it might as well have been in
Right.
older Animal Crossing
Right.
games. Like, yeah, New Leaf had the public works projects, but you were limited to what? I forget, like, was it 16 or 30? I don't even remember. But you were limited to how many things you could actually place outside. They had all these restrictions with the spacing and everything, but
Yeah.
like all of this was completely gone with New Horizons. So I am really excited to see where the game goes after playing this because there's so much that we can do in New Horizons, like regardless of how much content there is, that is just like impossible to do in these older games. So now
Yes.
that they have that framework set in place, building off of that is going to be amazing.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I was trying to find an interview that I read with Aya Kyogoku, who was the director for New Horizons, and she kind of mentioned that New Leaf was very much like the professional Animal Crossing player's game. You know, it didn't do a lot to really assist new players get ingrained in the world of Animal Crossing.
Mm.
But like New Horizons, it really opened up and really directed players and like here's how this game works, you know, here is all this charm that you might not have understood before, but now you can get it because we made this, I guess, prologue to the game that lets you learn about the DIY, crafting, you know,
Yeah.
collecting furniture, building houses, moving things around. And so I think they did a really good job with building the world and ingraining players in the world. And now, with that kind of tutorial in mind and what they could do beyond that, I'm excited to see what happens on the next game. And I'm sorry for anybody who just like wants to see this in this game. But to me, and sorry I'm going so long on here because I have so much to say about this, but to me, New Horizons was really held back by being on the Switch. Funny enough, I feel like every Animal Crossing game is held back by the console that they're on. But New Horizons is honestly the first Nintendo game in a really long time that I feel like Nintendo really has to update its hardware.
Right.
Because this game is held back by one thing to me in two different ways, and it's the local multiplayer because
Mm.
we can place 8-player homes on our island, I think they had to make cuts to how many buildings we could find on the
Yes.
island.
Right. Right.
That's one thing. The space, it's already tight once you have all of those characters built. Unfortunately, it's not something that most people are going to have. Not everybody's going to have 8 people on their island. So it's kind of a bummer that we had to see the game take some cuts because of that, you know?
Hmm.
The other thing that happens is the local multiplayer. As soon as you add those 3 other players, even one other player to your gameplay, you start to notice the frames drop, the lag,
Mm.
all of the kind of things that you don't want to see in a good video game. And even like overstuffed islands, like there is no limit to how many items we can place on our island, which is so wonderful. But at the same time, you're going to see a lot of pop in, a lot of real dips in the quality of the visuals. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff with the Nintendo Switch hardware that I think unfortunately held back some of the development that could have gone into this game, but hopefully, you know, the next game, the next Nintendo system could be the home for I guess, the home that's capable of giving us all of our dreams that we wanted for New Horizons. And, I think that's worth waiting for. It's a long game, it's a long series. And after how successful it was, I'm pretty optimistic that it'll happen at some point.
Yeah, yeah, and I liked your sort of explanation. You kind of hinted that New Leaf was the culmination of Animal Crossing as we knew it before New
Hmm.
Horizons, and in a way, it felt that way. It added ordinances and all these. You being the major and being mostly in a lot more control than the previous games, so it really felt like a conclusion in a way to that formula, and it was the best Animal Crossing at that time. So when we have something new, like a new foundation in a way, with the terraforming and with outdoor decorating, it makes sense that some things are not gonna carry over. I'm sure
Hmm.
it took the development team a lot of time to make sure that everything we got work with each other. You have to account for terraforming, you have to account for outdoor decorating, so you have to keep all these things in mind, and you're not gonna have enough time to make sure that everything you did for the previous game is gonna carry over. So that actually makes a lot of sense. I like your point because now the future games in this new formula, they're gonna keep adding, they're gonna keep building on this formula, or at least we hope they do. And it makes sense that they would, right? It's gonna keep getting even
Hmm.
better and better. They're gonna bring all the features and all the characters from the previous games. So, like you said, it's exciting. And the new systems are gonna have more power, so we're gonna see less pop-ups and less restrictions. So it's gonna be amazing.
And possibly a full 360 camera,
Oh,
too.
oh,
That is a dream of mine.
yes.
Outdoor full 360 camera. There's no way it's possible on the Switch at this
Oh, no, no,
point.
no.
I get the feeling they probably wanted it, but it's still too early on for the hardware that we're
Right,
on. So,
right.
I mean, there's a lot of potential here. I think we have a great game, and I feel a little bit sad that people are bummed about what we've gotten so far,
Mhm.
just because, like you said, Sergio, I think this is the start of something new for Animal Crossing. And as far as the foundation goes, I think it's great. I think we have a lot of
Yes,
really awesome ideas to work off of here.
yes. Mhm.
Yeah. So, with that said, my last question for you is, are you losing hope on a bigger update for New Horizons?
Well, I don't want to sound like too much of a downer, but honestly, that hope was gone a while ago. Like I said, when the first anniversary happened and we didn't really get much, I thought, yeah, it's probably gonna be like this for a while. Um, but again, their E3 is coming this year. It's coming back, so maybe they're holding on to something at that time. We, for with the talk we had about New Leaf, I don't think a lot of people expected the welcome amiibo update that we got, and that was pretty substantial.
Hmm.
So who knows? Who knows when? But we could get something like that for New Horizons. It's hard to say. Nintendo's not really talking, so we just have to wait and see.
Yeah, you're totally right. That was a complete surprise to everybody. For one, I remember people being like, Animal Crossing's getting updated 3 years later. What is going on with
Yeah.
that? So, no, yeah, you're totally right. I mean, it's just a strange game to give updates to, and I'm not quite sure they figured out how to handle it. But I will say, looking back at how New Leaf was updated, we got basically an item a month, and
Right.
I think what we're getting in New Horizons is far better than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I think at this point, if we do see an update, it'll probably be like a year 3 or 4 one that they throw in just to be like,
Mm,
here's some cool new ideas we messed with that didn't quite make it in the new game, but we're still working really hard on the new game and didn't have time to put them there.
right.
So enjoy. you know, that's kind of the impression I'm getting
Oh,
with what will happen with this update
so like
if we were to get it.
multi-crafting.
Exactly. Multi-crafting. Who knows if we'll ever get that? I kind of doubt it. Cool. So let's go ahead and hop into another little segment here. And this one is kind of based on this update. But people with much keener eyes than I have noticed that a mysterious home has been shown off in this update. It is in one image. It is kind of the more Zen styled homes, and nobody can locate where it's from. They have not been able to pinpoint the character that this home belongs to or the home itself. So a lot of people are assuming this is a possible new character home, a new home in general.
Yeah.
So here are some possible explanations for this. One, this could just be a dev town and this house was placed for testing things. So it could just be a home that doesn't exist and they are just using in the town, to get an idea of some items and stuff that they're messing with. That we've kind of seen this before with things like the white picket fence, never made an appearance in New Horizons. A lot of people really want it, but for some reason it's not a thing, right?
Yeah.
So it could very much just be a dev mistake that got through. And we've kind of seen this before. We've seen impossibly terraformed things in official trailers before. So this could be an explanation. The next ones are a little bit more exciting, though, and I think more of what people are hoping for with the game, but there is the possibility that this is a new villager home. So it could be an existing Amiibo series character that hasn't quite made it back. We recently got the Sanrio characters, but if you recall, there's also Zelda characters, Splatoon, Monster Hunter, a lot of characters that haven't made a return to this game, but are still technically possible,
Right.
So that could be an explanation. Another, that it could be brand new characters. We've only seen 8 new characters in New Horizons, at least new villagers, ones that can move in and live with you. But, we probably need more. I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't mind more characters, so that is an option. Another one is that it could be more returning characters that haven't been back since, previous games in the series. So there are still a number of villagers who are from the very first Animal Crossing game that haven't come back to this game. So, or the series in general since that first game. So it could be one of them. It could even be Champ, who I don't think has been back since, I think they might have been in City Folk, but I know they were in Wild World for sure.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So lots of options there. The other thing, and I think both you and I, Sergio, might be the most excited for this possibility, but it's also could be an indicator that Lottie or some representative from Happy Home Designer / Nook's Homes does make a return and unlock home customization options. So that I think would do a lot to build up the game in really interesting ways. For one, being able to customize the exteriors of your villagers' homes would be really huge. People could have their favorite characters, but say their bright pink house doesn't really work with your aesthetic. You can change it. Or maybe they have a really dull house and you really need them to be in a pink house. You can go that way too. So that could be an option. Maybe it unlocks being able to decorate their homes for them and give them a little bit more personality that way. There are so many things that are possible here, and I think that's my favorite for sure. So I guess I want to ask you, Sergio, what do you think is the most likely explanation for this mysterious house?
It's kind of surprising me how hopeful this is gonna sound, but for some reason, like my first thought is new villager, new house, new villager, right? So I'm thinking some way for them to add a couple more new villagers to the game, and maybe they hopefully they forgot and they left a house there as a hint, or maybe they're doing it on purpose just to get us talking. But that's what I'm thinking, honestly. My first thought, new villagers, and I'm hoping that's right.
Yeah, I mean, that would be definitely one of the coolest ones for sure. I think the one that feels most likely to me is probably a Zelda villager coming back.
Hmm.
It is the 35th anniversary of Zelda, and
Oh.
they haven't really done anything quite substantial for it yet. They did announce Skyward Sword, for example, but people are waiting for Breath of the Wild 2 to be talked about and anything else Zelda. We've already gotten some Mario representation during the 35th anniversary of Mario, so to me it feels like Zelda's next, We got to have
Yes.
some Zelda stuff. So that to me feels like it might be the most likely option here. Is it the one I want the most? I mean, I want it, but Lottie is still the one I'm hoping.
Yes.
So I guess based on that, Sergio, what explanation would you want to be true?
Oh, I'm definitely with you. Like Lottie, any kind of option to allow us to customize the homes of our villagers. Like you said, it wouldn't be just that. I feel like it would be part of a much bigger update. It would be kind of like a mini Happy Home Designer too. I mean, if we can hope, let's hope big, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if they do that, that would be so awesome. It would be adding a much sophisticated layer to the game and definitely reviving it. It would bring a lot of people back, and it would. I mean, they could even sell that part of it. It could be paid DLC. There's so many things they could do, and just seeing a house that we don't recognize, that's exciting
Mm-hmm.
enough to to get us thinking and hoping that it could be something like that.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm right there with you too. It's just like of all of the things they could do with this game, I think it's very design focused, and this feels like it would be right down that like Animal Crossing alley.
Yes.
It grows that design aspect to the game, and just keeps it alive for people in different ways. And yeah, I would be totally fine if that's what happened. If it was just Lottie returning and giving us even more, especially if they added way more for our own homes and even changing room
Oh.
dimensions. That's the big dream for me. So, I did want to talk a little bit really quickly on kind of a continuation of our amiibo chat from last time.
Hmm.
I know we talked about the 100 rumored amiibo. After seeing this house, it makes it feel a lot more real to me, like if they are doing new characters, putting out amiibo cards that represent those characters makes a lot of sense. And we've already counted that there are 21 characters that are currently in New Horizons that have yet to appear as amiibo cards. So those would be a very welcome addition to my amiibo collection. So, Nintendo, if you want my money, you know what to do. But on top of that, it kind of gave me a new idea of how they could approach these amiibo as well. One of the things that happened with Welcome Amiibo was that we could scan villagers from other series in the game. These villagers would be, or I guess these amiibo would be like the Wolf Link amiibo, any of the Splatoon amiibo. If you scan them in, all of a sudden these characters are available to you.
Yes. Hmm.
But we don't have like any amiibo slash card art for those characters themselves, like Epona in Animal Crossing doesn't have an amiibo card. So this could be a way to fill out that number of amiibo cards that are kind of reserved a lot more.
Hmm. Hmm.
We we have basically, well, I guess what I'm thinking, just so it's clear as possible for people, the Callie and Marie amiibo figures. You could scan them and get little squirrel versions of those characters. Callie and Marie as squirrels, right?
Hmm.
What if you had Callie and Marie as squirrels on an amiibo card? So that's kind of my thought here. Character art of the villager versions of those characters.
Yes. Gotcha. Hmm.
Yeah. So I think that would be really cool because I think I've counted 10 characters that are, well, 8 characters that are from Amiibo like that. 4 from Zelda, 3 from Splatoon, and 1 from Monster Hunter. And then there are 2 characters that were just special characters that you could only get through Japan, I believe. And that was like Philly, the horse from 7-Eleven.
Yes.
And there's this little bear cub one. I don't remember its name. It's like a yellow bear cub. And it's not to be confused with Marty. It's a different bear.
Oh.
So I'll have to find it for you, Sergio, because I was very surprised to find this one existed. I did not know of it. But yeah, I don't know. I think that would be a really interesting way to fill out the character art. Like I said, there's 10 more, so that would put the count at 31 possible amiibo. So between 31 and just filling it up with maybe returning characters or new characters, we'd have a pretty substantial update with that. So,
Right.
Yeah. And for me right now, Monster Hunter and Zelda are pretty believable. We have some big Monster Hunter Nintendo releases at the moment. One, Rise, just came out, and then Monster Hunter Stories is on the way this summer. So that's a character right there with Feline. And then once again, the Zelda 35th. So lots of options. I really want this to be truly a new house, a new experience for us. So hopefully we get surprised pretty soon. But I will say, this latest update seems to be what's intended for May and June. So we're probably not going to see anything until E3, possibly. If we see anything, I would expect it at E3.
Right, I think the timing could work for that. You know, E3 is probably going to be reserved for more. I was thinking newer games because, you know, we love Animal Crossing, but it's over a year old. But it still makes sense to have it as oh, here's one more thing coming for this game. And the timing would work because we know what's happening in May and June. And then this would be a good way to show us, hey, maybe this is for July and August, or maybe even further down the road if it's a significant update.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I guess they don't really need to update the game too much at this point. They're clearly making do with what they've got, you know? So it's really, I think for the most part, just the players who are going to be disappointed at this point. Like I said, Sergio, from the feedback I've seen on Twitter these days, it doesn't seem like people are too happy about what this update has brought to the game.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate, but hopefully, like I said, the foundation that we're seeing built with New Horizons is really something that can grow into something really special in the future.
Right, right. And then you mentioned that some of the collaborations that this house could be related with, it could be Monster Hunter or Zelda, and in a way it's true because Animal Crossing has already had collaborations with these two franchises. So it makes sense in a way to repeat. It would be nice to have something brand new, but also if they repeat something and it's two franchises that are having two big years or two basically they're both having a big year this year, so it makes sense, and I'm hopeful. And imagine we are kind of making a big deal of just this house, but it could be something bigger if there's more new characters or more amiibo, and this is just one of the houses of maybe many, or at least
Hmm.
a dozen or so.
Yeah, it could be a lot bigger than we think.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of people are hoping it is.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I mean, normally we would jump over to Haken's Islander Corner, but this week we are skipping it. I mostly just ran out of time with putting a question out, and I didn't want it to be unfair to our European listeners for putting up a question late once again. So we're skipping it for now, and hopefully you all can send some good vibes toward Nina. She just had some unfortunate news for her dog, Emmett. So, yeah, send her some love. She can really use it for now. But yeah, we really appreciate you all spending the time that you do with us. And hopefully, you enjoyed this little shorter episode. Not too much shorter than usual, but just a bit.
Mhm.
And yeah, I guess we'll see you next time. But Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Haken, an Animal Crossing podcast. Don't want the episode to end? Well, you can keep the conversation going by Nintendo switching over to our Discord. Just follow the link in the description, and you can talk with other people who love Animal Crossing as much as you do, including Sergio, Nina, and me. Want to support the show in a bigger way and get your voice heard during the show? Visit patreon.com/ChuiPlaysNintendo. You can support our show with just $1, get special access to a secret room on Discord, join in on the Haken Islander Corner, and even read a monthly newsletter covering all things Haken and Chuy Plays. We really appreciate the support and put your money towards some great things on the show. Tuned in on YouTube, the comments are a great place to let us know your answers to the Haken Islander Corner. The one from last week was, what is your favorite item to craft and use? If you dig what you hear, please KK slide over to that review section on your platform of choice. Let people know what they're missing out on. Haken is a wild production brought to you by Chuy, Sergio, Nina, and all of our patrons. We thank you for listening, and we hope you have a great week.
Goodbye, everybody.